So we'll do the Monday, Wednesday.
Hello everyone, welcome to our first members Q&A stream for the 2024 season. I'm your host Zofa and I'm joined by my co-host Lateriser. How's it going, buddy?
Good, man. We don't need to be doing like such formal intros today, man.
I
We've
know,
just got
right?
our
It's just built in my head.
like we've got our people here. We're going to be chatting to them. We're going to be answering their questions. You and I can just chat off the cuff. I think before we get into the questions, we'll wait for just 5 minutes for the questions to sort of pop
Yeah.
up. How are you feeling with your draft?
Good, man. The whole thing now with Salah scoring, Haaland getting an injury, getting cold feet, but wrote a nice article about Munoz and Guardiola. Pretty set on those.
1 second. Audio, video, GG. Audio problem is something that Rico is saying.
Let me
Is it
see.
my audio? I'll check.
Audio, video, GG means good game. Like, wait.
Good, yeah. But Rico is saying audio problem. Is the
Checking.
audio fine, guys? Just can you tell us if the audio is fine so that we'll make sure that things are okay.
Looks fine to me. There's nothing on my end that's giving a problem. Yeah. Maybe a
Audio
bit
is
of
fine.
lag, but that's fine. Video audio lag might be there. That will catch
Okay.
up.
All right. Cool. All right. You want to get into the questions, or
Yes,
you were
let me
talking
see.
about?
Let's just let's just jump right in. First up, let's talk about this topic, and I do want to talk about here. Nkunku, Rico is talking about.
Is he really the deal after today's game? Seems to have got license to roam and heavily trusted by Maresca. You're the Chelsea fans, huh? What do you feel?
So obviously the main advantage with Nkunku is, well, the good thing about at least in preseason in general is we are taking a lot of shots. Conceding goals, but in general the attacking numbers are up. Apart from the penalty, Nkunku had 3 shots on target. Ultimately, he won the penalty, also is looking quite lively. And the thing with Maresca's system is he likes his guys who are able to play in multiple positions. You have versatile players. So he said he can play on the wing, he can play as a striker, and he can play behind the striker. So what it virtually means is that X minutes are more or less guaranteed.
And plus, if you're looking at it, I feel like, yeah, X minutes are guaranteed because he's got the strongest preseason out of everybody. And even though fixtures are a little dicey, right? You've got City and Palace at home in the first 3 games, which are tough home fixtures, and Wolves and Bournemouth and West Ham away. So the fixtures, if you ask me from an attacking perspective, aren't that great, and Maresca could take time to get going. But
Yeah, the
even
away
then,
fixtures, right? Because I think this first after the City is a couple of away games, right?
yeah, it's so City at home, then Wolves away, then Palace at home, then Bournemouth away, and West Ham away. So the thing in my head is he'll have involvement. Like, and you don't need him to score a goal every week, right? Like a return every alternate game is sort of okay for a player like Nkuku who's underpriced anyway. And like what we essentially need is his minutes to be good and him to be fit. I think those are two my biggest concerns. Even if Chelsea starts slowly, it's not like they're not going to score. You know what I'm saying? They'll get a few goals and his involvement will be there. So I feel like he's a fine pick. I don't know about the real deal, etc. I think I would like temper my expectations if you get him. But he's just a very good pick. That's underpriced at 6.5.
But how do you weigh him up against somebody like a MGW, like a Gibbs White? Today I was having a look at the stat numbers. Gibbs White, in terms of big chances created, was top amongst midfielders in the 6.5 brackets. And what's interesting is him and Hudson Odoi have had the same number of shots, but Hudson Odoi is having much better quality shots.
I tell you what, like whenever I watch Forest play, also when I watched them last year, like they felt like MGW didn't feel like he was the advanced 10 all the time. He was pretty deep and involved in playmaking. And my perception of Forest last year was bottom 5, bottom 8 attack. It just, like, I've not been attracted to that pick. Like, if I'm looking at the 6.5 million bracket, the one pick that I am looking at is a Spurs bid, whether that's Kulusevski or Brennan Johnson. Because what I like about Spurs is that essentially their entire front five has had 4 season games together, which isn't the case in any of the top 6 teams. Like, the team chemistry is built up. They've had a strong preseason where there is team chemistry between these guys. So I have Nkunku and Brennan Spurs mid, BJ/Kulusevski above MGW as things stand.
So again, rank your 6.5 mids.
I have to decide between Nkunku and Brennan Johnson and Kulusevski, but I have the 3 of them above Morgan Gibbs-White. And I feel like I have Brennan Johnson over Kulusevski because in case Spurs do get a striker, I feel like Brennan is slightly more nailed than Kulusevski on the right wing spot. That's where I am.
Because Kulu's been playing as striker off late, and Baker seems very confident it is going to be Kulu number 9, not Son. Son left wing.
Yeah.
And I think Spurs will sign some striker, man. It doesn't make sense for them not to. Levy's definitely going to leave it late. Try to get the best deal he can. But I see again, Brennan Johnson, what was again interesting was, now Garnacho had 59 shots, Johnson had 23. But in terms of XG, Johnson was way ahead than Garnacho. It's just that Johnson gets those shots at very good range.
Great
very high quality XG chance. Very high big chances.
The only thing is, the moment he got his big chances, it was Timo playing on the other wing. If you remember how Timo was playing last season, it was always cutting and drilling the ball at the far post. Son's not that guy.
No.
Son's going to cut on his either foot, he's 2-footed, and go for the goal. And one thing, he's playing a lot more inside forward than wing this year, in preseason at least. In the highlights at least, it seems like that. So I guess
BJ
it's like a fun. I feel like with BJ, it could inevitably be a transfer come game week 3, 4, 5. Because it's got Leicester at home, Leicester away, Everton at home for Spurs. Then you've got Newcastle away, Arsenal at home.
Is it necessarily? I guess Newcastle away was at least a difficult fixture, and traditionally, Spurs go and get blown out over there. But is it a difficult fixture?
No, and especially for Spurs.
Arsenal is at home, right? Again, Arsenal best defense, etc., etc. But Spurs are going to go gung ho at home. I don't think it's necessarily a transfer out. I know I've had this in my head as well, but I don't think it's necessarily a transfer out per se.
I agree. But
it's only the minutes thing, because again, the substitutions will happen. He's going to play 70, 75 minutes. That's what you have to take with BJ.
Most bandwagons happen in this sort of midfield bracket.
Yeah.
Like, we're likeliest to move away in this midfield bracket. Or unless Palmer goes nuts or something of that sort, right?
Because it's easy accessible, right? People can get to a 6.5 mid very easily. To get to a Palmer or someone, you have to make 2 transfers. People don't do that. Game week 2. And in terms of explosion, feels BJ more likely.
But NKK...
you have to make that part.
But Nkunku is up there, man. I think it's Spurs mid or Nkunku over Morgan Gibbs-White. And my fault, I don't rate Forest. And, we're 2 jammy penalties away from Morgan Gibbs-White being a good pick versus not being a good pick. He's got the minutes, he's got the pens. So
before we move on to the next question, Sid's in the chat. Our friend Sid just became a dad recently.
Oh, wow. Like Sid? Like
Sid,
old Sid?
Sydney Mohindru.
Oh my God! Congratulations, Sid, man! I didn't notice you were in the chat. What's his Neil? What's
Mystic
his,
Mag. He's Mystic Mag.
He's Mystic Mag. Nice. I didn't know he was a Discorder.
Yes,
nice.
He's been on our Patreon
Sid.
from actually it's the first year. Whenever we started, one of our first 50 patrons. So congratulations again, Sid.
Congratulations, Sid. I can't imagine Sid being.
That's literally what I said. That your wife has 2 babies now, literally.
Spot on.
So the next one is from our boy Varun. Worth dropping expensive defender and rotating decent 4.5 million defenders. That's your Newcastle, etc., etc., and investing that 1.5 billion up top where it can make a big difference. So I think there's a balance to be sought here, right? I think we all like at least 1 premium defender.
Yeah, we are like at least 1 premium defender. What happens is that if Guardiola or Trent explode and you don't have a premium defender, it's just easier to switch if you have that money.
I want to tell you a funny story. Yesterday, Achu messaged me. He's like, why can't Pras give a straight answer to the Trent versus Guardiola question? Why does he have to say it's Saka plus this plus Salah plus this? Why can't he just answer it straight? So let's answer that straight today. If you had a choice, would you go for Guardiola or Trent?
As things stand, Guardiola, especially after our defense pod, because I think the money is going to be useful. And but Trent's last preseason game, I'm very open to being.
Yeah. From what I heard today, the right back was more advanced. Bradley.
Yeah. So I could but the thing is, he might use Trent differently, right? Like Bradley and Tsimikas as a combination versus Trent and Robbo. Like
totally
tactically, he might.
Correct.
Yeah. So I'll want to watch 60, 70 minutes of that game, and I'll take a call. So Guardiola, Trent, one of them are pretty much nailed in my draft.
Right. So going back to Varun's question, I think Varun, you go for at least one premium defender. I don't think you can really rely on these guys, all three of them. I guess you can if you get. There's a couple of rotations we posted earlier that does work, but I don't know, man. I've never been a fan of rotation. The clean sheets are so hard to predict. I just prefer backing the big sides, and traditionally I've always been about getting 3 premium defenders and just playing them every week. But
get one big one.
Get one big one. I like, obviously, Munoz we've talked about. If you're an FPL Wire listener, we don't need to tell you more about Munoz. In the third spot, again, a rotation you could work, or even play like a Konsa Perma play.
Yeah. And he's talking about upgrades like Rodgers to Nkunku. In my opinion, that's an upgrade. Muniz to Havertz, like with Gabriel Jesus having a good preseason, like I don't know. Like if and Muniz is just a good pick at 6 million. Like you don't have to think about upgrade. When you're assessing these 6 million players or 7 million players, the authentic question that maybe I ask myself is this guy a good pick at 6 million? And Muniz just ticks all the boxes. He seems fairly obvious. Like I don't see any red flag, except maybe if Jimenez goes batshit crazy, but I think he's got the first choice tag. Yeah, I feel like he's a good pick.
Yep, I'd agree with that. More questions from Varun. The Chelsea keeper, now Jorgensen has been added to the game at 4.5. Be interesting to see if he gets the spot right away, because I don't think once he sets on his keepers, I don't think he'll change too much, but you might have to wait a few games for that, I think.
And plus, like, I don't know how many clean sheet fixtures are there in the first 5. Like, I'm happy to get the Chelsea keeper of choice.
A second home game also is Palace, I think, right? Yep, it's Palace game week 3. So that's also, again, not a very easy game.
Yeah. Still, you could say that if he's a good keeper, that he could, like, get...
He had the most saves in La Liga last season.
It's a decent punt. I'm not against it, actually. If, like, Maresca said in the press conference yesterday that Palmer is my first choice penalty taker, if he says that this guy is my first choice keeper, then I'd consider him. Because not like we have clear indication who the first choice Forest or Palace keeper is at the moment either, right? Like, it's not clear. So if we get that
because even that other guy who they signed, Miguel, it's not like he's played hundreds of games. He's a very experienced keeper. He's also a bit of a rookie keeper. And they're linked with Ramsdale, by the way.
Nice. That would be great. Like, how much is Ramsdale this season?
Must be 4 point. I don't know if he's an Arsenal backup keeper, so he might be priced accordingly high.
I'm on the website. Let me check very quickly.
Well, look, let me just say hi to other people in the chat till then.
He's 4.5, man.
4.5, right?
Yeah, I could very much go for Ramsdale because we saw that chart. Their XG per shot conceded is top 5 in the league. In terms of, they have a very low XG per shot conceded. So, if they get a decent keeper, I think if Ramsdale signs, I'll be there.
Ramsdale's always been a good shot stopper. In terms of saves, he's always been good.
And been a good FPL asset too, man, if you remember.
Yeah, I remember benched him for that one wonder save he made at Leicester.
Yeah.
I think you played him that week. I remember that quite well.
Yeah, and the whole point was to play him in the tough fixtures. Right? Like that's why we like sticking to one keeper, because you don't mind the slightly tougher game.
Yeah. Another one from Varun. What do you think of Eze's prospects without Olise?
I think Eze is pretty much a no-brainer in my head. Like if I was today only while driving, I was thinking about which picks are pretty much nailed in my head.
I think there's no reason not to pick Eze.
Like he's got set pieces, he's got penalties, he's very attacking, he's a baller, like he's a genuinely good player.
The only caveat you could say possibly is Mateta returning late from the Olympics, but then that's probably 1 game week, 2 game weeks max.
I just rate Eze that much. I rate Glasner that much. Like he ticks all the boxes, man. Like he's got pens, he's got set pieces, he's got minutes, and he's got skill, and he's got a good manager, good team, good fixtures. What else do you want? It's too obvious a bit. Like I think like whatever I do, like I'm starting to think about like which 5 or 6 positions are certain.
I think we
in
have
my
to start doing that now, right? Ultimately,
Yeah.
only then you can start like debating, looking into analyzing the other. Because if you're going to look at the entire 15, you're going to go crazy. You
Yeah.
have to start nailing down few picks.
And now it's important because then you're going to swerve. It's your article that inspired me. You're going to be swerved by a lot of information in the last week. Now you don't need to forget some of the presets in terms of SJ is just too good a pick, man. He's obvious.
Okay.
That's where I'm. Do you feel the same way?
Completely. SJ hasn't left any. A lot of times I try to find the $500 million, like downgraded him to like an Nkunku, but I'm just like, nah, man. Too much of a talisman in a good team.
In a good team, and which other midfielder in that bracket ticks the set piece, pens, etc. box? There's only one more, and that pick is dependent on certain Ivan Toney leaving the club. Like I reckon if Tony leaves the club in the next couple of weeks, then all of us are looking at SJ plus Boom. Because Boomer becomes a different beast
the fixtures are so bad though. They have Liverpool away and City away, right? 2 and 4.
But the first 3, like if you're looking at a 3,
1 and 3 is good, but again, Palace I don't think are that bad. First game week 1, right? I think Boomer's one for later.
90 minutes of penalty is like.
Pras was here, obviously he'd disagree with us, but I don't think either of us are massive Boomer fanboys.
But I'm changed because I got hit by him, and I've come around to somebody who's, again, it's the same boxes that SJ ticks. 90 minutes, nailed on, minutes, penalties, set pieces. He's got everything.
It's true.
Literally everything.
Just the fixtures I don't like early doors. Yeah. Next question is from Benny M90.
While we're on the 7.5 million bracket, like I've been thinking about Jota after today. Like a 2-3 week, because Gordon looks like maybe he moves to Liverpool. So that 7.5 million midfield position has opened up for me. So I'm thinking about Nkunku, I'm thinking about Rashford, I'm thinking about Jota. Jota is a 2-3 week flirt. Like if it looks like he's going to be the center forward starting the season, would you go there? Because you're like me, you're a Jota fanboy.
Absolute fanboy, but the problem is, see, right now there was a quote from him we read today morning. He's like, for now I am the center forward, but that's obviously because the other guys haven't turned up yet.
Yeah.
So I'd rather initially, I don't want to get onto a hype to these bandwagon guys. I want to get the nailed X minutes guys because I don't want to necessarily have transfers to make. I want to have those transfers available for bandwagon hopping rather than like, guys who are X minutes risks.
Yeah, but like what are the guys you make exceptions for? Like Jota
Jota's a good example of that. Obviously the ceiling, the hat-trick ceiling is there every game.
Is there. That's all. So I've been wondering, I'm so glad we have Josh coming in the last week. Like I think that's probably the most important guest spot we have.
When are we trying to have Josh? After the Shield?
After the Shield or
Shield weekend. Yeah, that weekend probably.
Yeah, that weekend. I'll get in touch with him.
I'll just check when Liverpool's
after the last friendly. Whatever happens, it'll be after the last friendly.
Yeah. Questions from Benny is, value picks are always essential and perhaps even more. So after the pricing this year, what's your ranking of cheap enablers, 5.5 million and below? I mean, there's nothing below. I think there's only Ahmad at 5 million.
There's Ahmad.
Rogers.
And Enzo.
Enzo's not an option.
There was another pick at 5.5 million. ESR.
ESR 5.5. Now I'm 5.5 we'll get to. There are quite a few options at 5.5. I want to discuss 5 million purely first.
He's saying 5.5 and below.
And
so
below.
ESR. So
correct.
ESR,
I'm asking uske below. Like below that, there's nothing. Let's just leave that bracket. I don't think you'd really be investing in any of the below 5.5.
Like it's just Rogers.
And again, Rogers, like you said, Felix, etc., is always lurking. So
it depends, right? If by game week 1 Felix looks like it's off, then Rogers is an option. I was listening to FML FPL pod with an Aston Villa guy who hosts an Aston Villa podcast. He's like, Rogers punt in the first 3-4 weeks. He's like, that position is his. He's done incredibly well in preseason, and he's playing support striker. So
I guess as an 8th attacker, I don't mind. 7th attacker still risky.
You might have to if you want to go Trent.
If you want to go Trent, Salah, Haaland.
Yeah, then you have to like think about that.
Then yes.
And relying on
Then you're pretty much you're okay with the 2 pointers, or if it does, or like you're playing your sub guy.
Yeah,
there's no 4.5 forward right now who's starting, right? That's a dodgy thing.
Yeah. Man,
Oh, sorry, let's go
5.5,
back.
then you got
We haven't
Armstrong.
finished the question. So yeah, 5.5. Let's just see the options are basically ESR, Hudson-Odoi, Andreas,
And Armstrong.
and let's do mids first.
Yeah. Andreas Hutchinson.
Hutchinson, obviously from Ipswich.
Yeah. And then up front. Like,
I
these are the
think-
ones I'll.
I think the ones
Kamada.
and Kamada, of course. How we forget
Oh,
Kamada?
yeah, how can I? Like, Kamada is actually, like, in my head, my Rogers backup is Kamada or ESR.
Tell you what, let's
Like,
just I'll keep the fantasy website open here, so at least we don't miss any price names over here.
Kamada, man. Kamada for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it looks like I don't see how Kamada plays deeper in midfield because, like I mentioned on the previous part, they've got Doucouré and Kouyaté and Wharton. So they've got enough people to play midfield. And I think Kamada is going to play in the front three. I think he's a great enabler.
Oh yeah, Kamada definitely front three. When Sarr comes, you might see minutes risk, but even he's adapted quite well already, and he knows Glasner's system. That's always an advantage with Kamada.
He's playing in the properly. He's playing like in the. He was actually playing in Eze's position. He was playing on the left hand side. Normally, Olise was playing the right and Eze was playing the left as the 2 10s behind Mateta. Kamada was playing the left hand side in the preseason friendlies. But I think him or ESR seem like the best option.
I'm just a little bit dodgy because like somebody mentioned in the chat, I think it was Sankalp.
It was
another
Sankalp.
or Achu that ultimately we don't know yet. It's a different team and a player who hasn't got consistent minutes for so long, right? ESR, we don't really know what to expect. Again, we know he's a good player, etc., but
show that
Hudson-Odoi I still like.
Yeah, and fixtures are there, right?
Hudson-Odoi, but the problem is subs are going to happen. Today I read they signed some other winger named Jota.
Yeah, but I still don't mind it as a start of the season punt. But also, you're a little bit reliant, on the Robin of the left. If I remember last season, he's always looking to cut from outside the box and put it in the far corner. He's pretty good at it. But you said his data was good. He got a fair few big chances also.
Who are we talking about again?
Cho.
Yeah, a fair few big chances, but he outperformed his XG massively.
Because a few bangers went from outside the box. If I'm trying to remember what kind of goals he scored last season. So
lot of bangers in outside the box. But let's just do a quick ranking. I think I would actually put Hutchinson right on top because he is very talismanic. Once he gets game week 1 and 2 out of the way, even though we don't know much about him, I think 90 minutes are very likely Ipswich are an attacking team. And just by how hyped Ivan is about him, I think Hutchinson is going to be a factor later on, but probably not one you want to start with. If starting,
I'm going
I think Kamada.
I'm going Kamada, Cho, Rogers.
I'm still not convinced by Rogers. I'd go Kamada, Cho, and then maybe ESR.
Well, I'll speak to you after Rogers' brace this weekend.
Potentially. Who do you like between Armstrong and Pedro? Pedro's fit now.
Pedro's not an option for me. Very honestly, there's a lot of hype about him.
Why is that?
Because we don't. They've got Welbs. They've got I forgot his name. Who's the most hyped striker that was last season who was injured?
Evan Ferguson.
And they've got Welbeck. So I don't know who's the first choice striker for Brighton, man. I genuinely don't know. And Evan Ferguson was somebody who's an 80 million rated striker that your team, my team, both were looking at. It's just that he's been injured all season and people have sort of forgotten that he's a good player and they've got so many attackers. I just don't. By virtue of lack of information, I'd go Armstrong.
Fair enough. I'd agree that Armstrong's numbers are very good also from the championship. Proper talisman.
And one thing also, last season I learned, right? I don't pay too much attention to minutes. Pedro's not good for minutes. So I don't know. We don't know if we know.
So, but if you're given a choice, if you had to go 5 million forward or mid, I think there's more variety in the midfielder bracket, right? It's easier to move.
And for 0.5 more, you're getting TCL or
Muniz or Wood, etc.
Muniz, right? So, who are much surer things.
Makes sense.
That's fair.
From John, if Haaland is still questionable going into game week 1, would you pivot to a Salah draft or risk it with Haaland? Or build your Haaland draft but make him Havertz? I think it's all community shield dependent, man. See Haaland start the shield, you buy Haaland. I think we are slightly getting exaggerated into Pep's comedy. So he took him off because he didn't want to give him too many minutes.
And he was looking fine in the first half.
Absolutely. It's not like he was playing with injuries. So don't read anything into that Haaland stuff.
And if you're building a draft, then I prefer starting with Watkins instead of Havertz. I'll say that. I don't think Havertz is nailed on as striker to start the season. Like he could be, and our Arsenal fans on the Discord will tell us, but I'm not sure. And I just Watkins is much more of a surer thing.
From Khan, bit of a macro question. Are we thinking too much about defender rotations? Isn't it like basically perma play versus rotation? If you can, I like perma plays more so. Buy like if you can put like a Saliba, Trent, and like a Guardiola there, or maybe even chuck in a Munoz there. It's obviously much better, right?
My current defense is Trent / Guardiola, Munoz, and Matson. I have all three as perma players at the moment.
Or Matson, yeah.
Yeah,
Tell the listeners a bit about Matson.
It's just I'm expecting him to be first choice in that. If you think about how Villa played last year, right? It was one winger and one person who sort of steps back as the third centre back. Konsa is going to be the third centre back. I think Matson is better than Dean and Moreno, and I think he's going to start majority of the games. Maybe because of UCL, he misses one game out of the first 5, but I think he's got enough upside. If you remember, Moreno was in the box so many times. That position literally has a lot of attacking threat, and Villa's got good fixtures. So for me, I've got 6 or 7 million for Trent Guardiola. I've got Munoz, and then it's either 2 4.5s or Matson and a 4.0.
What's also interesting about Matson is I thought he'd be missing a lot of preseason, but I had a look. He's got minutes in the last 2 preseason games because with Netherlands, he was called up. He didn't get any minutes, so I guess he linked up in preseason early.
Yeah. And he fits the bill of decent team. The defensive numbers were poor, but decent team still. Good fixtures and very exciting as a pick.
Rico is asking the impact of a few new signings. I think ESR we've discussed. What about Brereton Diaz at Southampton? Wait and watch? Similar with some
I just want to tell Current something also. Like the rotation thing is not something we would probably look if we were on Wildcard and picking our teams for 15 weeks.
Right.
We're looking at it right now because I think all of us have in our mind that we're going to Wildcard at least in the first 6-7 weeks. So you can find a pair for that short-term period, at least for now, I reckon.
Right. Yeah, Somerville, I don't really know much. I know he's a good player, but it's a bit of a wait and watch over there.
Yeah. Good shot by Rico. Oscar Bob at 5 million.
He's just 5? I think, again, good pick for the first few games, but once like Foden, etc. comes back.
Yeah, first few could just be first game also. We just don't know.
Could just be first. Yeah. I mean, you're hoping to get lucky with Ipswich at home.
Yeah.
But very impressive in preseason. From Rico again, is Salah goal and Haaland injury because swaying teams towards Salah more or stick with our guns? Goes back to the earlier question, man. Wait till the Community Shield.
Not sitting on the fence. The Haaland injury is bullshit. Like it's nothing. I paid zero attention to it. I don't expect much from it.
What do you think about leaving money in the bank? That's the next question from Karni is asking. He says he's got the team he likes, like for example, and would you keep the 1 million or try to upgrade a position? I like the idea of some money in the bank earlier.
I don't mind it.
You don't have to spend it. If you're happy with your team, stick with it.
Yeah, I agree.
From John, option A, Haaland, Johnson, Odegaard, Muniz, or B, Watkins, Salah, Saka, or Son / Joao, basically Saka or Son or Joao Pedro. So basically the second one is the first one is a Haaland draft. The second one is a Salah draft. So the Haaland one, he's got BJ, Odegaard, and Muniz. The Salah ones, he's got Watkins, and a premium mid, and Pedro.
Like when you put it like that, it's difficult, right? Like
because I think where are you on Odegaard? I've never come around to him as an FPL pick.
I told you, right? Like I'll remove the stats again. Like he underperformed last season, man. He got 8 goals and 11 assists, and the season before that he got 15 goals and 8 assists. So I think he's a 10 goal guy.
Different role slightly.
Yeah, but I think he's an 8 goal guy, 10 goal guy. I think 8 goals is probably his floor. I don't think he's going to do worse than 8 goals ever. So I do see him as a 20-25 return guy with a higher ceiling, and I really rate him as a player, so I don't mind it. I think he's a good pick.
Right.
Let's go. I'd go for the Haaland draft.
Let's go for that, and let's go get some questions
right now. What's your answer? A or B?
Which one?
A. Haaland, A, right? I still prefer Haaland. Safety net.
I prefer the safety net, exactly. And again, I'm not that keen on Watkins early on. I'm not keen on Pedro. I obviously like Son over Saka. Salah, again, I do really like, but I think you can captain Haaland all the weeks, including Chelsea away.
You want to answer a few questions from the Patreon
Yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Kesavan Vijayasagar is asking his opinion on the late wildcard. He says he was hot on Wildcard 6 when the game launched. But now he feels so that he wants to look at it's a long question. I'll just read out the
Can
whole
I read
thing.
it out?
Yeah.
Hi guys, just wanted to ask your opinion on late wildcard. I was hot on wildcard 6-7 previously when the game launched, but as I look further in fixture ticker after game week 15, it's a sea of green in FTR for top teams like the City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, who has all those expensive assets. And that continues until few game weeks into the second half of the season. Personal opinion, don't even think with Friday transfers it's easy to move around at different and high price points, and wildcard could essentially be easier there. Instead of game week 6-7, it's easier to switch out Liverpool, Chelsea, and switch funds to. So he's asking because he thinks that all the good teams have great fixtures together in the second half of the season. What are your thoughts on late wildcard versus early wildcard? I
Very
generally
hard to
think
say now. Very hard to say now because ultimately we don't know anything. Even though we've had so much preseason, there's so much water still to go under the bridge. But I do like building a team with a certain wildcard horizon in mind, always. And I think 5 or 6 is a good horizon.
And also, if you're doing well, if you're able to switch to the assets you want, game week 6-7, don't use the wildcard. But don't have a preset notion. And I also think this season is even more important to start well. Because I think going to catch up because of the role transfers is going to be a little difficult. For people who started well, they're going to roll transfers, 3, 4, 5 transfers and going to switch. So if you leave it till until game week 15, if you're lagging behind in the game, it might be too late. Like that's my only thing. You have to make sure you're on pace and moving along early. That's where my thoughts are.
Next one from Eno. How important are price points this season compared to earlier seasons? I feel good with Haaland, 10 million mid and 1 premium defender, not planning any transfers, but open to hop on the 5.5, 7.5 billion asset that explodes. I also feel Newcastle is a trap apart from game week 1. No way I am tripling up. Thoughts? Let's answer the first question. Price points. Where are you there?
I like what he's done. Haaland, 10 million and expensive defender. Because that's one of the reasons I'm comfortable, even though I have like enablers like Rogers in my draft at the moment, sitting on a Trent Salah, Haaland and a Trent/Guardiola draft, because it's easier to move into anybody. So I always felt like it's easier to move into the 10 million mids when you start with Salah or Haaland rather than doing the opposite. Like that's my thinking, and that's why I'm comfortable because I think they're superior picks anyway. That's where I am. What are your thoughts?
I think similar. The only player he can't probably get to right away is Salah, but freeing up 2.5 million is not difficult.
Yeah, exactly. And the second question is Newcastle, right? I'm with him. That's why I was.
I don't mind the fixtures for attack, because again, Bournemouth, then Spurs, etc. So for attack, the fixtures seem okay to me.
Exactly that. Agree. I think for defense, it's a trap. For attack, I like it. Yeah. And if Gordon moves to Liverpool, I'm interested in Harvey Barnes also. 6.5 million. Good. Let me check his price. He's 6.5 million.
6.5. Yeah.
I rate the player. Like there's a pick there.
Yeah, I know you're a Barnes fan.
Yeah.
The next one from Michael Scott. Are we in danger of playing too safely with the new rule on carrying more transfers and taking the fun out of the game by taking fewer transfer risks? For example, Bob may be a good 5 million to start the season if he does well in the Community Shield and looks likely to start, and then change to Rogers once all City assets are up to speed. But to maximize saving transfers, we are going to ignore short-term picks. This seems more a question for you, LR. What do you think?
Don't look to maximize saving transfers, especially at the start of the season. Like, I think saving transfers and something you maybe consider game week 7 or 8 when we've absorbed substantial information and data into the season. Early season, it's important to build team value, especially with the season not being as easily priced as it was last season. Jumping onto bandwagons, keeping up to pace is fine. Like I don't buy into saving free transfers early. Like it's an opportunity. Like it's almost dangerous to have that mindset. Plus, if you're watching, like I feel like it's dangerous if you're thinking that I want to save transfers until 5. I think it's a little bit of a red flag.
I think one punt, like for example, I wouldn't have Bob and Rogers, but you could go with one. Yeah. Like you mentioned Jota early on. If you had an idea that Jota is starting game week 1, don't mind it.
Yeah, balance it out. Exactly. Like if you're doing the Bob thing, then make sure you got secure experienced people otherwise. So don't have Bob and Jota. Like sort of split your risk or sort of insure your risk in the squad.
Makes sense. Next one from Sankalp. How do you generally see the start of the season? Do you favor fixtures over the good teams? What are your feelings about Chelsea and Liverpool attack? Do you see them taking time to settle down or explode? I'm looking at Salah plus 4.5 versus Son plus Martinelli, and gut-wise really favoring the latter. Where are you, fixtures over form early on?
It's much more subjective and layered than that, I reckon. Like I feel like I'm giving some weightage like he is to Spurs front 4-5 having some games together at the start of the season. I'm giving weightage to Salah having a full preseason. Like those are the things that sort of matter to me. Like the fixtures don't really matter too much for these ultra premium picks for me. Because a good player is a good player and they attack in any game whatsoever. And whether you're thinking about Spurs, City, or Arsenal, or Liverpool, none of them have bad fixtures at the start of the season. If you think about it, Liverpool has the best fixtures, and the other three are sort of decent amount of fixtures, at least from an attacking point of view. So it comes down to that context. That's why I'm not going Palmer, because I think that that team might take time to gel. And that's why I don't want to spend 10.5 million in a Chelsea attack. Whereas I'm okay to spend 6.5 million on an Nkunku if I want.
Or a BJ, right? BJ also 6.5. So again, small risks you can take.
Small risks you can take. That's where I am. What are your thoughts?
I think it's going to be difficult, right? Ultimately, he's asking specifically about Chelsea and Pool attack. Pool have had a pretty decent preseason from what I can tell, and they're looking sharper every game. And again, both of these teams are creating chances. Even Chelsea, though we conceded quite a few against Celtic, again, we're close to 14, 15 shots. Against Club America, again, loads of chances. So I don't mind punts from either team. But Chelsea, again, Palmer, I want to wait a little bit because my general feeling about Maresca's side is not as individualistic as Poch was. Poch was pretty much like give Palmer the ball. That's pretty much our game plan. Maresca favors the collective a bit more. So I do think the goal returns will be spread around in Chelsea now.
But it could also be that play in a collective way that the ball reaches to Palmer in the final third as early as possible. Like that could be the pattern that you're created. So
we don't know yet. Ultimately, he did mention today that he's decided that Palmer is the taker. That's set in stone. I'll appreciated that after the whole fiasco last season.
Yep.
But that combination, Salah plus 4.5 versus Son plus Martinelli, is an interesting question though. Martinelli is someone to watch out for.
Have you seen Salah's highlights today? I haven't seen it yet.
I think it's Arsenal. He's had, I think, only one or two shots in target. So you only see everything that's like highlights, right? We need to see stuff off the ball where he's moving. So until I see that, I can't really form an informed opinion.
But I still say Salah because he looks like a captaincy pick every week except Gameweek 2.
He does.
And even Gameweek 2, he's got Brentford at home. So it's just a good captaincy pick. And I feel like with Son, you can take a punt on BJ on the other side. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'd agree. A couple more, one from Patreon and one more from Discord from Neil. Love the pod, so and so. Have you had the chance to see the Bournemouth new centre back, Dean Hugison, signed from Juventus? So and so. He's talking about some of his attributes. He takes free kicks and penalties. That's interesting. I didn't know that. That's news to me.
Do you think Bournemouth fixtures in Gameweek 11 could be worth looking at? Yeah, we'll look at it then, Neil. Like, we're not thinking about Gameweek 11 right now.
Thanks for letting us know, though, about him. It's definitely one to watch. I didn't know we have a penalty-taking defender option, potentially. But I guess Solanke is still going to take them anyway, right?
Tom's going to take the pens, man. For sure. For sure.
But definitely not one to start with. Bournemouth's fixtures are horrid.
Yeah.
One more from Saurabh from our Discord. LR confirmed in a previous pod that Pras is a robot, so are we considering... Okay, that's not the serious question, etc.
But let's do the fun question. We don't have to be serious all the time.
What's the Portugal now? He's sitting down shirtless somewhere.
What's the unserious question though? I feel like we should do some unserious questions.
His question was, is Pras a robot? And we talk about the algorithms and all that stuff. So by following Pras, haven't we essentially following an algorithm?
Let's analyze this. So looks almost perfect. Like content delivery, almost perfect. He's like a master at breaking down complex information into really simple information. He found out that Gameweek 6 was the ideal wildcard window before review did. It's a convincing case that he's a robot. What do you reckon?
Pretty much reminds me of the show. You remember the show Small Wonder that used to come on
Yes.
TV?
Yeah, man. What's that girl's name, man? That's
Vicky.
what
Vicky.
Vicky. Process Vicky.
Process Vicky.
That's what we're going to call him when he comes back from his Portugal break. That's what we're going to call him.
That's done. But yeah,
Yeah.
the serious question is: are we getting sucked into saving free transfers, and we comprise similar question to earlier that Michael asked?
Already answered that. Now, what we'll do with the live questions is we'll take on like things that maybe we haven't covered, etc., and that might be relevant. No, we'll just like sort of freestyle. If you read any that pop out, also let me know.
Let's just ask the catch funny fun questions before we wrap up. What are you doing the rest of the evening?
I'm hoping to play some pickleball in the evening now. After post that, need to catch up on highlights, man. Need to catch up on Liverpool, United, and then I'm writing an article for Scout, which is focusing on Rashford and Bruno. So
they've asked me to write next week on whether I think Palmer is 4 million worth more than Nkunku, and I just don't know what to base it on, right? There's just so much limited information because we have nothing on Nkunku from last year. The preseason, we don't know where Palmer, etc. is playing. It's very difficult.
At least with Rashford and Bruno, there is 2 years of Ten Hag data, right? Where you can dive into and figure. So I do have a theory behind that. Let's do a little bit of a spoiler. So my theory with Rashford is the most important component. One of the most important components in his form is Shaw. Like with Van Bissaka or Dalot, if they play on that side, they don't like to sort of hold the width too much. Shaw does that a lot, which allows Rashford to move infield a lot. And the second thing that might come into play now is Holland's injury. So he's out for 6 weeks, which brings Xerxes into play. And Xerxes is pretty much like Firmino, who likes to come deep. And that might be good for Rashford and Ahmad. I think Ahmad is going to start the season, but I don't think he's a pick because Ahmad could start game week 1, Garnacho could start game week 2. It could be something like that also. But Ahmad is very selfless as a player. So, if Rashford's playing with Bruno, Ahmad, and Xerxes, 3 creatively tuned players who are fairly selfless might be good for Rashford. That's the long story short of that article.
Karan is asking, any chance you guys do a forfeit for who finishes the lowest this year?
No, man, I don't want to forfeit. Yeah, man. I like having no speed breaker to just play the way I do.
Coffee or tea? John is asking.
Coffee, man.
For me, it's aqua. I drink neither. I haven't had any caffeine, I think, for about 6 years now.
That's insane, man. I drink, I have a problem, minimum 3 cups of coffee a day. Minimum.
In fact, the last sip of alcohol I had was at my brother's wedding last year in January. Not even last year, January. So it's been 1.5 years since then.
Yeah. Zoff Bawas asked a very interesting question because I was thinking about it. Game week 1 captain, Isak versus Salah. I feel like we haven't thought about Isak
as a captaincy option enough.
And it's Southampton at home. It could easily be 4 or 5-0. Easily. There is a world in that happens and he's...
But the thing, somebody else posted a stat about Salah game week 1, I think having 5 double-digit hauls. I'm going to scroll up.
Yeah,
Nico posted that.
Yeah.
Against promoted sides, man, I just love backing Salah.
And this one, Ivan did mention that they'll go for it, right? At home, they're not going to sit back. They're going to give low.
Right, exactly. So I think it has to be Salah for me. It's not a bad option.
But that's one of the things that would probably give me comfort about going without Salah because I think Isak's a good game week 1 captaincy option.
Correct.
It's a great person to fall back on.
Yeah, Varun says this is all Klopp data, so you don't know.
Yeah, man, but it's still Salah. I don't mind Isak game week 1 captain. It's Southampton at home. It's probably one of the best 3 fixtures of the season if you actually think about it.
Peter's asking Ahmad for game week 1 and then play Muniz after.
No, man. I don't think Garnacho is going to sit for too long. So, we need information by the time game week 4 or 5 comes around that Ahmad is first choice. Until then, it's going to be rotation.
Yeah. Varun is talking about Salah's haircut. I'm calling him Mode Salah from now on.
I'm calling him Mo Shami. I can't wait. If I've got Salah game week 1, I'm not going to shout Salah. I'm going to shout Shami. I've decided that also. Even if he scores, my Twitter is going to go Shami, not Salah.
Cool. Let's wrap up. I don't think there are any more questions to cover unless you guys want to send us anything. Let's just wrap up in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes. I'll see if there are any other questions. This was fun, man. Nice chill hang session with
It's a
our
different vibe
people.
from doing it on like the Discord, definitely.
Yeah, man. And it's pretty easy to like talk to everybody. All right, Parag's asked a question that I spotted earlier. 7 to 7.5 million midfield bracket, your best option.
Eze, right on top.
Eze. Anybody else?
Madison is I actually looked at this bracket and there's what Gordon. Obviously, I think Gordon is almost a perma pick for us. It'll be interesting if he goes to Liverpool. Because he's been on he's one of the guys, him and Isak, put them in day one, they've not moved. So replacing that position will be tricky if he does.
TBD, based on what Josh tells me 1 week before, monitor Diogo Jota.
Yeah. Bowen,
like that's the one.
Yeah, Diogo Jota want to monitor.
Yeah, and I think, I know you love Jota. Like you might be swayed there too. Like I won't be surprised if you're swayed there.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I hope not, but yeah. Jota has been good to me. Other likes, then you have your Luis Diaz, Bowen, tough fixtures to start with.
And Rashford.
Probably. But I think Eze is clear.
Eze is clear, man. Pens matter. The picks I like are Jota and Rashford outside of the ones. And Bumo.
Oh yeah, Bumo's at 7 as well.
Yeah, Bumo's Ivan Toney dependent.
Fixtures, not great, but
Pens, man.
Picks there.
The thing with also, like, again, we mentioned, right, that most of these picks emerge in the midfield bracket. So Bumo might be a good point to buy whoever you want out of Saka, Palmer in Game Week 4 also, if you want to buy one of those picks, because the price difference is not that huge. Big. Yeah. So that's the thing.
Let's wrap up.
Varun's asking me where says pickle. Pickle's in my building, man. I've got a pickleball court niche. Karan's at his friend's dinner with the earphones in, man. That's Rico's asked me my opinion on United injuries. I'll just answer the last one. Man, apparently the guy that we hired for fitness when Ole was there is still there. Like, some of the decision making is baffling. Like, Euro was 50%. Ten Hag mentioned that, and then he got injured. So it's worrying, man, that we get so many injuries, and I don't think that our medical department is. And I'm sure Ashworth and co will look into this because it's a big blow at the start of the season. I think that's it, man. That's it, Zoff. It was good fun catching up with you. We'll probably, I think it's fair to say that we can probably try doing this on most Thursday evenings. Either one of us or both
play
of
by
us.
Ear. I think it's more fun with two of us doing it, honestly.
Yeah,
one
also
of us would be like quite boring.
Exactly. Like we can, and it's easier also. It's much more chilled out and relaxed.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, and we generally got this Thursday slot empty. So
I put this out on the Patreon and YouTube members so people can watch it.
Just a note to everybody on Discord, guys, join the Sleeper Discord League. There's about 45 people on there. Even if there's 100, 150 on you, top 3 from 150 have a chance of winning a Premier League kit
every month.
That's insane, man. Like, if you guys aren't joining the Discord League on Sleeper, like, I don't care if you don't join the full league. That's fine. But join the Discord League. Your odds are great there. That's all. Cheers, guys. That's it.
See you again next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye.